you get when a single mother not only employs a single father, but also allows him and his daughter to live with her and her son? The plot to one of the most popular American television sitcoms of the 80s. That show, called Who's the Boss, aired on ABC for 8 seasons from 1984 to 1992. It was created by television producers and business partners Martin Cohen and Blake Hunter, and produced by Hunter Cohen Productions in association with Embassy Television and Columbia Pictures Television. It stars Tony Danza as Anthony Tony Maselli, a former Major League Baseball player and widow who decides to move from his hometown of Brooklyn, New York, to Fairfield, Connecticut, to give his 11-year-old daughter Samantha Maselli, played by Alyssa Milano, a better quality of life. To support her, he accepts a job as a live-in housekeeper for divorce advertising executive Angela Bauer, played by Judith Light. Danny Pintaro plays Angela's 8-year-old son Jonathan Bauer, and Katherine Hellman plays Angela's mother, Mona Robinson. The show's title refers to the role reversal of the 2 lead actors, where a woman was the breadwinner and a man, although he wasn't her husband, stayed at home and took care of the house. Tony and Angela become attracted to each other, even though both are uncomfortable with the notion and do their best to avoid facing this aspect of their developing relationship for much of the run of the show. The 2 of them do, however, become best friends. In addition, Tony provides a male role model for Jonathan, while Angela and Mona provide a female role model for Samantha. Unlike Tony Danza, who had served as the Tony Maselli prototype from the beginning, Judith was one of many who auditioned for the role of Angela. Nearly a year prior, she'd ended a very successful 6-year stint on soap opera One Life to Live. At the audition for Who's the Boss, she followed the script's instruction and walked across the stage wearing only a robe. Sensing Tony was looking at her butt, she asked the unscripted question, "What are you looking at?" He laughed, knowing immediately that she was going to get the part. The character of Mona was initially created as a free-spirited older sister to Angela, but the creators struggled with casting, so they decided to rewrite the role that Katherine ended up being perfect to play. Danny and Alyssa were also cast based on their auditions. The series pilot was shot in late 1983, a full 10 months before the show actually went on the air. ABC originally was planning to put it on mid-season in January 1984, but since the network didn't have a slot for it in the lineup, it was delayed until the next season. Who's the Boss finally debuted on September 20th, the same night as another future sitcom hit, NBC's The Cosby Show. 1 week later, however, it was taken off the air. It was clear from the beginning that the show had been put in the wrong time slot, going up against Family Ties on NBC and Magnum PI on CBS. So ABC knew they had to switch things up and find another night for it, which they did. The show returned 2 weeks later on a Tuesday. The theme song, Brand New Life, was written by the series creators and executive producers Martin Cohen and Blake Hunter, with music composed by Larry Carlton and Robert Kraft. 3 versions were used throughout the series run, which were performed by Larry Weiss, Steve Wariner, and Jonathan Wolfe.
There is more to life than what you're living, so take a chance and face the wind. An open road and a road that's hit, a brand new life around the bend.
Things really picked up steam over the summer when reruns of the first season were airing. A lot of people who hadn't seen the show before started tuning in, and it began to gain some momentum. Later in the show's run, TV Guide reported that Tony was exhibiting erratic behavior on the set, yelling and screaming and making demands. His frustrations boiled over at the start of the 1989-90 season when he, allegedly, staked a walkout for 2 weeks until he calmed down. Upon his return, it was said he made light of the whole incident by issuing shirts on set that said, "I survived week 6, which the crew refused to wear. In the fall of 1991, after 7 years on its established Tuesday night slot, Who's the Boss was moved to Saturday nights at 8 against NBC's The Golden Girls, along with fellow long-running sitcom Growing Pains. This was essentially the beginning of the end, as in the TV world, shows that were moved to Saturday nights were thought to be on their way out. More schedule changes came in early 1992 when the network added the long-running Perfect Strangers and the new cartoon Capital Critters to the night. It was promoted as the new I Love Saturday Night lineup, an equivalent to their hit Friday TGIF block. Who's the Boss then moved to 8:30, with Capitol Critters as its lead-in. The new setup only lasted 1 month before Who's the Boss moved back into the Saturday 8 p.m. slot in early March. The series ratings dropped significantly at this time, prompting the decision to end the series. The hour-long finale aired on April 25, 1992. For fans who remember Tony's adopted child, 5-year-old Billy, played by Jonathan Holliaker, some reports claim that he disappeared because the show's producers wanted the final season to focus on Tony and Angela's relationship. But in the show's E! True Hollywood story, Catherine remarked that Jonathan was a gifted performer, but he had difficulty catching up to the pace of the acting and timing that the senior cast members had long established with each other. Who's the Boss was nominated for more than 40 awards, including 10 Primetime Emmy Awards and 5 Golden Globe Award nominations, winning 1 each. Now let's get into some fun facts about Who's the Boss. In early development, the series was titled You're the Boss, in reference to Angela employing Tony and the gender role reversal. Before the premiere, the producers changed it to Who's the Boss, an open-ended title which hinted that any one of the leads could potentially be the boss. The house in the opening credits is actually in Rye, New York, approximately 30 miles from Fairfield, Connecticut. 2 days before the first episode premiered on television, Tony was standing in a Manhattan criminal court. Back in February, he and a friend were being a little too rowdy in a high-end Manhattan restaurant. When a guard approached the duo to quiet them down, he claims he was hit by Tony. The impact was so hard, in fact, that he suffered partial hearing loss. Swiftly arrested, Tony stood trial and was found guilty of assault. When he attended court to be sentenced, his career was in real peril. After all, he was facing a year behind bars, which would have made filming the second season of Who's the Boss impossible. Well aware of that fact, his lawyers stood up in court and asked for leniency, explaining that prison time might completely derail his famous client's career. At first, things were not looking good. The judge who was sentencing Tony even called him out. But despite that, he sentenced Tony to only 250 hours of community service. After the second season, the theme song lyrics changed. The opening line went from "There is more to life than what you're living" to "There's a time for love and a time for living." Who's the Boss became a hit across the pond too, with a British version called The Upper Hand. Alyssa wanted to leave the show after the 7th season to attend school, but ABC refused to let her out of her contract. Halfway through the final season, Tony and Angela were supposed to get married. The producers changed their minds though, worried that the couple's union would ruin the show for syndication. They believed that new viewers finding the show would watch more if the sexual tension was ongoing. So instead, the ending was left rather open-ended, with Tony returning to Angela's home in Connecticut after working in Iowa for a while, echoing the series' first episode. The same night of the series finale of Who's the Boss was also the same night that 2 other popular shows aired their final episodes, Growing Pains and MacGyver. This one is definitely not fun, but a rather sad fact. While all the cast members received a lot of fan mail, one person took his admiration of Danny too far. Even though the letters weren't graphic, they did cause his parents to be alarmed. They weren't going to stand for this man communicating to their son in this way and decided to take him to court. Sadly, when the fan found out, he took his own life. It also came out that Danny wasn't the only actor he'd done this to. Who's the Boss is currently available for streaming online on Sony Pictures' YouTube channel, Throwback TV, in the United States. All episodes are also on Internet Archive in HD quality. Columbia TriStar Home Entertainment released the first season of Who's the Boss on DVD in North America in 2004. The remaining 7 seasons have yet to be released due to copyright issues. The series produced 2 short-lived spin-offs. The first attempt was a show called Charmed Lives. It was based on supermodels turned roommates Fran Drescher and Donna Dixon's characters from the season 2 Who's the Boss finale of the same name. It only lasted 3 episodes. The second attempted spin-off was Living Dolls. The series was about a group of young models living together. It premiered and ended in 1989, running for 12 episodes. It starred Halle Berry and Leah Remini. The latter had already been featured in 2 Who's the Boss episodes as a friend of Samantha's. In 1987, producers had planned another spin-off titled Mona, which, of course, focused on Mona's character leaving Angela to help her brother run a hotel in Manhattan. The 3rd season featured this plot in a 2-part finale episode, but when ABC changed their mind about the spin-off, fearing what Mona's departure could mean to the show, the ending was rewritten to feature Mona returning to Angela's home. So, did the cast really get along or what? According to the Archive of American Television, Tony talked about his younger co-stars and said that the adult cast members ensured that Alyssa and Danny were treated well. As for Judith, she enjoyed her time with Catherine immensely. She told Elle in 2019 that she adored the actress. On February 23, 2019, Katherine Hellman passed away from Alzheimer's disease at her home in Los Angeles. She was 89 years old. In 2020, Sony Pictures Television announced that a Who's the Boss sequel series starring Tony Danza and Alyssa Milano was in the works, and the two actors would be reprising their roles as Tony and Samantha Micelli, respectively. According to the studio, Judith Light and Danny Pintaro also showed their support. The latest report from 2023 says that Judith is now on board, and a couple of scripts have already been written.